Although the beauty lies within the butterfly, the growth happens within the cocoon. I joined this union in 2020, not long ago, but long enough to understand what it means to stand on the shoulders of giants. That quote speaks to me because it reminds us that transformation, real transformation, doesn't happen when you're under pressure. It doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens when you're under pressure, when the world is tight around you, and when you're forced to grow in silence, in darkness, in resistance. That's what the Charleston Five went through. In 2000, there were just union men defending their jobs, their community, and their dignity. But the state tried to criminalize their courage. They were locked in that cocoon. But they didn't fold. They didn't fly away. They fought. And because they did, we can. So when we fight, when we fight, So fast forward to 2023. And this union, ILA as a whole, made history. We won a 62% wage increase. And we took a stand against automation, not only with talk, but with real action. A coast-wide strike that stopped ports in their tracks. That's not just a win for us. That's a message to everyone, every worker who's been told to sit down, be quiet, and accept less. But here's the truth. The labor fight never really ends. The opponent just changed. Yesterday, it was police batons. Today is algorithms and corporations trying to automate us out of existence. But the spirit of resistance remains the same. That's why I'm honored to sit here with someone who helped light that fire. Because what they did back then, that wasn't just about protecting jobs, it was about protecting a future, and that future is us. So to those of you who are organizing unions in the South, building from the ground up with your boots on the ground, know this. You're not standing from scratch. You're not starting from scratch. You're picking up a torch that's already been burning. And your struggle, just like theirs, is part of something bigger. So let's welcome a living port labor legend, Leonard Riley. So what we're about to do right now is we're about to do a interview, question and answer kind of situation. We have my brother Kelvin Matthews here, another member of ILA Local 1422. And we're both going to be interviewing Leonard for this question and answer. And then after we're finished with our questions, we'll come to the floor and ask others to come forward and ask questions as well. So again, thank y'all.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelvin Matthews. I'm a rank and file member of ILA Local 1422. And just like my brother George said, that we're going to be doing a Q&A here with a living legend, Leonard Riley, who actually went through that night. And, man, he laid the groundwork. As George so eloquently put, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. And this is one of those giants here. So we're going to start off with some Q&A, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions for everyone else. Everyone okay with that? All right, I'm going to kick it off. All right, our local president, who you guys just saw speaking, Kenneth Riley, he was quoted as saying he's never been to war in his life, but he was told by our members that's how it felt that night. So, Leonard, I want you to take us back to that night. I want you to take us back and tell us what it felt like to be attacked by the police and to stand shoulder to shoulder with your union brothers to fight for our work and, to secure our jobs. How did that feel?
Good evening, everyone. So, when I reflect back on that evening, as we had prepared at the hall at 6 p.m. to go down and resume picketing, we saw such a large buildup, and we really didn't know why they were there. at first because they weren't at the porch yet. But so we decided to reconvene. We were going to go home and come back at 12 midnight. So we did that, and they sort of dissipated for a while. But the ones that were in the terminal already, to our surprise, they were still there when we came back at midnight. Anyway, when we left the hall marching down to our workplace, we had no idea what we were going to encounter that night. We know that it was some police out there, but had no idea. People got beaten. It was like a war. My brother Ken said he's never been to war, but that night when we turned that corner and we walked as if we were going to work, we got met by police sticks, and there it ensued what they call a melee, a riot. But we were just walking. We didn't have weapons. We walked forward, and we had people seriously injured that night. But more importantly, when we left our homes, came to the Union Hall, we never had any thoughts of ending up in jail. We had 10 members arrested that night, and I was one of them. My brother got hit in the head. He had 13 stitches. He wasn't protesting. But I'm saying all that to say this. Those jobs that we were picketing for and protecting, we could not stand by and not show up. The emotions that was going through us, those are our jobs. And if we didn't do anything, we felt they would be gone for good. So we showed up, and the rest is good history, I should say. We had a struggle, but it was well worth it. When I reflect on it now, I could imagine if we didn't do anything, there'd be non-union ships at the terminal right now. But because of that stand, the valiant efforts, our docks are basically all union ships work now. All the ships that are worked right now is worked by union personnel.
So my next question, there's a saying that you like to say, and you say to me quite frequently, is that many hands make light work, and I love that. Could you tell me how the community and how other unions responded when you and your fellow workers were arrested and charged?
Well, I've got to say that immediately we had to realize a problem, big problem. We had 10 of our co-workers locked up, and we couldn't leave that way. So in recognizing what we were facing, and we were facing the threat of repeated actions like that, because they're locking us up for protecting our jobs, we figured we'd have an onslaught of ships coming in expecting to work without union labor. But more importantly, right at hand, we had these gentlemen, and they were only gentlemen that night, were locked up, away from their families, injured. We had to recognize that problem. We had to convene the community the next night for the hall, because we were a working part of that community. We supported community efforts. We did everything we could to have a workplace for our local workers to come and work. So at the end of the day, it was something that it was organic. You know, we weren't afraid to go out there, and we were surprised because the footage that you saw in the beginning, the police officers said, we're going into battle tonight. Now, we only discovered that through the Freedom of Information Act. I mean, they had a pep rally, and they had their sticks practicing. But, you know, in the long run, if we had to do it again, we would. And based on the results and the support of the community, we did the right thing.
So, with that situation happening for you, and you mentioned you were arrested as well that night. How did that affect your family, and with all the national attention that y'all were getting, and even just the after effect of all of that?
I'm gonna stand up a little while, but I was emotional. Yes, I was not regretful. I was emotional. I had young sons, and my mind as I was riding in the paddy wagon toward the jail, you know, I thought about them and thought about they might get teased, but I wanted them to eventually know the truth, so they could, no matter what people said, they would be proud of Dad. So, yes, it impacted me in a way when we got into the jailhouse. There were grown men crying, you know, not knowing what's going to happen to them, if they're going to be able to come to work. The felony charges had the potential of putting them in jail for 5 to 10 years. So people were quite concerned about what they were facing. We had to come up with an answer. We couldn't leave our brothers in that kind of situation. So when you recognize what you're facing, you start to make that plan. And like I said, the community was there. But that plan consisted now of crossing the country, going all across the country, sharing the challenges of trying to hold our work down. And we did that. We went across the country. We went to the West Coast. Every place you can think in the country we went. And we established a fund that would eventually put the bill that it took to litigate the case. And after the litigation of the case, it turns out that I was released, and then they came and rearrested us again. And now they charged 5 of the 10, with felony rioting charges. And, you know, that costs more money to litigate. And the response from the country, from our locale and the country, we were successful in raising all the money it took to defend those 5 guys. When the day of celebration came, the West Coast longshoremen, San Francisco, they came over the first night. They saw it on the news. 2 men, Jack Heyman and the then president, I can't recall his name right now, but they brought a check for $5,000 to help us with the defense. IOW, our brothers on the West Coast. And to fast forward, you know, the IOW is pretty militant. So now we're joined at the hip. If they're in a struggle, we in the struggle. That's the lessons that we start to learn. We are not alone. And it's a lesson that we'll probably explore here some more, because we're in a similar situation today. See, so we're going to have to rely on our allies, people that are similar situated, to come to each other's rescue. You know, that's what makes us strong. We are one. No matter what, if you're a consumer and we move the goods, and you consume the goods, when they stop us, they're stopping something that you enjoy, that you need. So we all linked. And that's one of the things that, really keeps me emotionally charged about this. And that's why we are in assemblies like this today. But I acquiesce to another question.
You ran into my second question right there. So, what did it mean to you to be a black unionist facing a system that tried to criminalize labor protests?
Well, to me, I've been black all my life, so being black, but and we've survived struggles. When I was a senior in high school, we first met integration, so that was a struggle. So struggle wasn't new to us, but in that situation, it meant that people coming to it transformed our local. Our local is pretty much of an activist local anyway, but we are now fully committed to coming to others' rescue. We cannot afford to let workers feel abandoned or that they're by themselves. And so it's high priority for us. When injustices appear anywhere in the country among workers, we are committed to act on that. So again, being a black longshoreman, we are just as committed as ever to not allow things like this to happen. I've got to say this. When the first ship left Charleston, it sailed to Spain because of the contact at an ILW San Francisco local. They notified the Spanish dock workers about that issue, and they told the shipping company, if you load that ship with non-union labor, we're not going to unload it in Spain. And when they allowed the ship to come back, then we eventually litigated the case with the shipping company. We talked about it, and they came back, and we got the work back. So that got solved thereby solidarity, now worldwide solidarity. Because the Spanish dockers supported us, and dockers around the world sent emails and texts to Colombia, our capital. And that's part of the lessons that we should remember. So this action gave rise. It was like a lady that's giving birth. People, where are you going with that? The Charleston 5 situation gave birth to a stronger worldwide movement among longshoremen. The IDC, I'm wearing the badge right now. Dock workers around the world now, we're still organizing. They're in Africa, and of course Spain and France and parts of Europe, Austria. I could go on and on. So, and they're going to, by the way, they're going to reconvene in Charleston at the end of this month for the 25th anniversary of the successful, yeah. So